The Karnataka High Court has stayed the decision of the Bommai government to grant reservation to both Lingayats and Vokkaligas carved out from within the 10% EWS quota. This is a big blow politically for the incumbent Bommai government as it sought to woo both these dominant communities, the Lingayats and the Vokkaligas, ahead of the elections. The Panchamasali Lingayats, who are a subsect of the Lingayats, have been protesting, and that too in the Chief Minister's hometown. They want this reservation, the old system whereby they qualified for 15% reservation under the OBC quota. They want that to be restored. But there is a larger question that's being asked. In breaching the 50% cap that was put in by the Supreme Court in the famous Indira Sani judgment, did this new reservation already find itself on shaky legal ground? And what may be the political impact, because elections are barely a few weeks away?
Panchamasali Lingayats protesting outside Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai's residence in Shiggao. They are upping the ante after the High Court stayed the government's move to create two new categories of reservation for the Vokkaliga and Lingayat communities. Panchamasali Lingayats are a subcaste of the dominant Veerashaiva Lingayat community. For months now, they have been protesting and demanding inclusion in the 2A category of OBC reservation, which will entitle them to 15% quota in educational institutes and jobs. Under pressure, last month the Bommai government announced that it was introducing two new categories, 2C and 2D, to include Lingayats and Vokkaligas. The government decided to do away with the existing 3A and 3B categories, which Lingayats and Vokkaligas were a part of. The government had also planned to use quota under the EWS category for meeting reservation demands by Lingayat and Vokkaliga communities. All these decisions have been put on hold by the High Court.
Government of Karnataka had initiated, Honorable Chief Minister had initiated a lot of measures. How best we can address their concern? Judiciary has taken its own stand at present temporarily. We need to put across to the judiciary what was the justification. We need to discuss, debate, deliberate.
The opposition has accused the Bommai government of taking the Lingayats and Vokkaliga communities for a ride.
Unfortunately, the government is trying to play around with the feelings of people. Instead of giving clear-cut explanation and instead of giving clarity on the issue, they purposely kept it ambiguous, and so that because they want to please everybody and fool everybody.
ಇದು ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ದೋಖಾ ಇದು. ಈ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ದೋಖದ ವ್ಯವಹಾರ ಇದು ಈ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಹಲವಾರು ಸಮಾಜಗಳಿಗೆ ಮೀಸಲಾತಿ ಹೆಸರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೂ ಮುಡಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊರಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನನ್ನ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ.
Lingayats make up for nearly 14% of Karnataka's population, with the state going to polls this year. Will the quota conflict backfire for the Bommai government?
All right, will this turn out to be a big political impediment for the incumbent government there in Karnataka? Joining us now, Mohan Vishwa, Karnataka BJP spokesperson, Sanket Yanagi, spokesperson of the Karnataka Congress, Aditya Srivatsa is an advocate, Suman Siraman, political analyst, and GB Patel is secretary of the Jagatik Lingayat Mahasabha. Let me start with Mohan Vishwa. The problem, Mr. Vishwa, is that this legislation, which was passed in the last assembly session, was anyway on shaky legal ground. Essentially, what the government has done is create two new categories, 2C for Vokkaligas and 2D for Lingayats, within the 10% EWS quota. That is shaky legal ground.
See, Zaka, when this particular two different quotas was created, it was created basis the technical grounds and technical analysis by the experts and also, the panel of some of the ministers. Basis not only it has taken some time, it has been created. Okay, so that is first point. And, that day when the same issue was created, and also there was only hardly an interim report which the government has been taken from the OBC commission led by, Mr. Hegde. So who said that is going to give only interim report. The full report will take some more time to give. So basis which after the full report only, the final how much percentage is going to be given will be decided. So we have
So two things, Mr. Vishwa, two things. One, why are you not making that interim report? Table it in the assembly, make it public, let the people of Karnataka know what the interim report says, number one. Number two, if it is only an interim report as you argue, why don't you then wait for the final report before coming to a conclusion about 5% quota for Lingayats and 4% quota for Vokkaligas, and that too within an existing 10% EWS, which was not meant for caste-based reservation, it was only meant for economically weaker sections?
See, Saka, how can somebody table an interim report which is still underway in an assembly or somewhere, whatever that matter? So it can be laid in the assembly or in front of the public only once you get the full report, not till now. Okay. So Congress may accuse that why you have taken a lot of time not to table the final report and all. See, everything has its own time and technical ground. See, at least we have done this. We have
No,
created
Mr.
a separate
Vishwa,
quota,
interim
and we have raised a
report
reservation.
as
What
per
others have done
as
is
per
nothing.
your argument, Mr. Vishwa, interim report is good enough for you to bring a legislation, a significant legislation guaranteeing reservation for Vokkaligas and Lingayats. But interim report A cannot be tabled, and B, you will not wait for the final report. I mean, you can't have it both ways, no, sir. Anyway, let me ask Sanket Yanagi. Once again, Sanket Yanagi, this is worse than what your government did when Siddaramaiah was Chief Minister. You abolished the 5% quota for Lingayats. You made Lingayats into a religious minority status. The state government announced that this quota will be within the existing 50% reservation, which was meant for scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. Basically, a group of people who were reformative against Hinduism or from Hinduism, you went and gave them a minority status and abolished the quota that they were eligible to, which again was struck down by the court.
So now here I think we need to discuss about the BJP's action, which is the current issue. While looking at this issue from a different perspective, let us understand the chronology of events. BJP has come to power in 2020 and it sat over the file for the period of 4 years. And in 2022, when the elections are nearing, or 23, when the elections are nearing, they want to push it forward because of the election gimmick. And now let us understand the feasibility of this.
No, Mr.
So,
Yanagi, if I may ask, sorry, you're not answering my question. How is what the BJP did any worse than what you did when Siddaramaiah was in power? You called Lingayats a minority.
So, you see, let us understand basically Lingayat, whether it's a minority or a majority, whether it's a Hindu or non-Hindu, whether they need a special status or not, they do not need a special status is not an issue at all now presently. So what we canvassed and we wanted to give the special recognition to them, that was not accepted and that term is over. Now we are in a situation where we need to answer the question which the current government is facing, which the people of the community are facing presently. We are not here to discuss something which has gone.
No. The point I was trying to make was whether it was your government or whether it is BJP government. And again, your government, that decision came 6 months before the elections in 2018. BJP government's decision again coming 3-4 months before the elections in 2023. Both of you have used Lingath Reservation for political expediency just months before elections. That is the point that the people of Karnataka need to know. Anyway, let me ask Aditya Srivatsa, the basic legal flaw in this new legislation passed by the Bommai government is they have conveniently taken reservation from two different sections, two different articles or subsections of the Article 16 of the Constitution. Backward class reservation is under 16.4 of the Constitution of India, whereas EWS reservation is under 16.6. One is caste-based reservation, the other is economic status-based reservation. They have conveniently mixed both.
Yeah, and if one were to read the text of what constitutes the 103rd constitutional amendment, it becomes clear that the reservation for economically weaker sections is not available to the classes that are mentioned under subclauses 4 and 5 of articles, respectively 15 and 16. So what I think is important, Zaka, is one needs to really closely examine the fine print of the various orders or statutory instruments pursuant to which the various categories have been created, whether it's under economically weaker sections or backward classes, and to see whether or not the 6% that seems to have been reallocated from out of the economically weaker sections actually can be done, number one, or number two, whether it actually overlaps with whether the beneficiaries of this reallotment, so to speak, overlaps with the categories or the classes that are covered under subclauses 4 and 5. Now, you're correct that the Karnataka government appears to have suffered a setback in the Karnataka High Court today. But given how much of a hotbed issue reservations is, I really wouldn't be surprised if within the first few days of next week, the matter is appealed before the Supreme Court, and the
Okay,
stage,
as of now, the High Court has, I think the next hearing, the date that the High Court has given is 30th of this month. I do not expect that before the model code, before the model code, which is likely to come sometime in February or March, I suspect that this issue will not get resolved legally. But let me ask GB Patel, who represents the Lingayat community. It's very, very clear that as per the Constitution, Article 15.6 and 16.6, which provides for EWS reservation, has specifically excluded certain backward classes. Vokkaligas and Lingayats were not part of this EWS. To carve out a separate quota within EWS for Lingayats and Vokkaligas who are not recognized by the Backward Classes Commission or recognized in these articles of the Constitution, that was patently unconstitutional. It was a political move. It was an expedient move. It was not legally sound, and now the High Court has put a stay on it. Mr. Patel.
Sharanarthi ellarigu. Basically, Mr. Bommai is having a legal team along with him. There is a big department, legal department. I am afraid nobody knows about this. Is EWS cannot be divided. It is based on certain Article 16.5 and 15.6. So how they can divide this? It's unconstitutional. Is it not? Nobody knows about this. It's actually is a ploy, to fool the Lingayats, to fool this Panchamasali community. It's a gimmick. He doesn't want to give a reservation to anybody. He just go on pulling this for his election. Today he is going to give some reservation to some section, and tomorrow he will ask somebody to go to the court and get a stay and on all that. So it's actually gimmick. It's a political gimmick.
No, but Mr. Patel, questions are also being asked.
In Karnataka.
Mr. Patel, once again, questions are also being asked about the Panchamasali Lingayats. Now, they had reservation under the broader category of 15% under OBC. That was changed. Like I said, first Siddaramaiah government changed it, gave it minority status, gave it 5% quota. That was changed again. It was struck down by the court. Now, Mr. Bommai's government is giving 5% under the EWS quota. What is it that the Panchamasali Lingayats want?
No, they wanted reservations in 2A category. That is 2A category is already having around 107 casts, 207 casts. Of that, if they wanted something for their own, the others will object. It is known to him. It is out of 207 casts, he has categorized 5 divisions: 2A, 2B, 3B, 3A, 3B, and all these things. Earlier, it was given to Lingayats have been categorized as 3B. They were on 5%.
Yeah.
And Panchamasalis were in that. And now they wanted to shift from 3B to 2A, where is larger 12% reservation. 16% reservation is there.
Okay. No, so Sumant Raman, without getting into the legalese of it, I think the more important thing and the more consequential thing will be about the political impact. Will this have any ice in terms of the government's outreach to the Lingayats and the Vokkaligas, or will they see through this move? Because now that the court has put a stay, I highly suspect whether there will be a final decision one way or the other, either by the Karnataka High Court or by the Supreme Court for that matter, before the Model Code of Conduct comes into play. So how may this affect the Bommai government politically?
I don't think it will positively give them any benefit, Zaka, for the simple reason this is a cynical move coming on the eve of the elections, and anybody can see through it. Just like the Siddaramaiah government at that point of time in 2018 tried a similar kind of a move months before the election. Now Mr. Bommai is trying the same thing. Now, two very important points. Now, Karnataka actually today is now having close to 56% reservation, which already breaches the 50% reservation limit in the Indira Sahni case. So, whether that itself is constitutional is a matter for the courts to decide. It is very likely that that itself could be struck down, and that could, of course, whether it will happen before the elections or after the elections is a different issue. The second point is, as far as EWS is concerned, the benefit of EWS very categorically goes to those who are not given the benefit of reservation under any other segment there whatsoever.
Yes.
There is no provision for subcategorizing this 10% into 3% or 2% or 4%, which is not there because caste in itself or class is not a feature of this 10% reservation at all. So you bring in something from some other section and bring it into this. I don't think that this will stand. But more pertinently, Zaka, I think that the fact it is being done 3 months before an election, I think it sort of speaks of the desperation that the BJP now, the government now
like I said,
sees,
I don't know if it is any more better or worse than what Mr. Siddaramaiah did in the last 3 months of his government. But be that as it may, let me ask Mr. Mohan Vishwa this. Forget about the legalese. Many people won't even understand the legalese. But the political thing that has upset the Lingayats, Mr. Mohan Vishwa, of course, their tallest leader, Mr. Yediyurappa, got changed. Yes, another Lingayat leader has been made chief minister. But at the same time, they have concerns over, some of their history being misrepresented in the textbooks. They have concerns over some of their seers. I think one of them even openly came out and said that they are being asked for commission. These are the larger concerns that the community has. Reservation is an issue. No one is saying it's not an issue. But there are other pressing concerns as well.
See, Zaka, as far as rewriting the right writing of history is concerned, nothing has been rewritten. Okay, later it has been clarified by the education minister. And as far as the 40% of that seer, he himself has later withdrawn his statement. He has clearly told that. So these two issues will never arise over here. And as far as Lingayats are concerned, our government have done a lot, especially Mr. B.S. Yediyurappa, who is a tall Lingayat leader, who was responsible for bringing BJP government for the first time in the state of Karnataka. And also Mr. Bommai, who is from the same Lingayat community, is continuing the same. And as far as EWS is concerned, it is settled in the court, and we know that it's a separate classification. It is nothing to do away with the caste reservation. However, what we are going to do it if, exceptional cases, nothing happens means, obviously, our government may think of already, the representatives have told that there is a Schedule 9 in the Constitution, which Tamil Nadu have already done it, which is there in the court also. So we'll take that route and we'll ensure that, the Panchamasalis will definitely get the quota. Either way.
No, but Mr. Vishwa, to do that, you have to convene the assembly session. The assembly has to convene.
Exactly.
And the assembly, can it convene before model code comes into effect? That again is a big question. The time that is there, you barely maybe have about 15 to 20 days before the assembly needs to be convened, if at all that is the route that the state government is going to take. But Sanket Yanagi, I'm coming back to this larger question, and I think this is where the Congress is also being too clever by half. What is the definition of Lingayatism? There is a certain segment that believes that this was a reformation within Hindu society, that Basavanna was not against Hindu society or Hindu practices, except of course the caste system. Whereas there is another a school of thought within Lingayatism which says that they have nothing to do with the Hindus. Now, the Congress played a cynical game trying to make the Lingayats into a minority, but many of the Lingayats themselves came and said that if one of the lingas that are being worshipped is that of the Shaivite tradition, then how can you say that the Lingayats are minority or that they are different from Hindus?
Zaka, don't forget to say that
Mr. Yanagi, yeah, thank you.
Yes, insofar as the definition and the scope of the term Lingayat is concerned, it is already, this matter is sub judice, and we would not like to say anything on that, number one. And number two, when the matter itself is before the court and it is debated by the government and as much as by the Lingayat community representatives, that it cannot be derived out of the Hindu community. It is to be differently treated as a Hindu, one of the minority religion, as that of Jains and other communities. If you can look into the provisions,
that is not what a large number of sir, I'm sorry, that is not what a large number of people in the community want. I don't think a large number of people in the Lingayat community think that they are minorities.
Let me clarify two important positions here. The Hindu Minority Guardianship Act, Hindu Succession Act, Hindu Marriage Act, and such other acts which are very clearly specifying insofar as the applicability of the acts are concerned, that the law is applicable to Hindus, Sikhs, Jains and Lingayats. In the sense, the law itself clarifies that Lingayat is not a part of the Hindu community, and it is differently specifying it as the one which is standing on a different footing.
Let me ask Mr. G.B. Patel, because he's the Lingayat representative on the panel. Again, the core issue and the confusion here is this. Of course, everybody wants reservation. Every community wants to fight for reservation, particularly in education and jobs. But that is one part of it. I think the crux of the matter, Mr. Patel, is there is no consensus within the Lingayat community on whether you're part of the larger Hindu umbrella and therefore eligible for reservations under OBC, EBC, EWS, etc. Or are you minorities, like you have reservation for Muslims and Christians in minority institutions? Are you going to claim that? Because again, Lingayats run a large number of educational institutions in Karnataka. So the crux of the matter needs to be solved before you can get to the question of reservation.
Yeah, I will come to you. First of all, we are separate religion. That's the Lingayat religion like Sikh, Buddha and Jain in India. As my other panelists said that these four laws of Hindu laws are applying to all these religions, irrespective of the religion names like Buddha, Jain and Sikh Dharma. Lingayat Dharma, it applies. Whereas we are not Hindus, we are Lingayats. And our principles are totally different from Hindu principles, and we have been separated since 12th century onwards. And
so, sir,
this has
if
been
that is the case,
recognized by
Mr. Patel, if that is the case, then how are Lingayats eligible for the quota under OBCs? OBC quota, that 2A that you referred to, 15% OBC quota, is for Hindus. It's not for non-Hindus. How can you claim caste-based OBC quota on the one hand?
No, sir, let me speak. I understood your question. Let me speak. They wanted to divide the society in the name of reservation. They wanted to divide the society. They doesn't want this entire Lingayat to be called as a Lingayat. Lingayat Dharma consists of 107 castes.
No, who is dividing? No, who is dividing? Who is dividing? Who is dividing the Lingayat community on basis reservation?
No, we are not divided. They are creating caste, because if they are giving separate, one minute, sir, let me speak properly.
Yeah.
If they are giving a reservation to a particular caste, they are taking out of that from Lingayats. Lingayats are consisting around 100 caste,
Yes.
That's Dharma. If they are giving one reservation to one particular caste, and they will be out of that caste. They wanted to create subsects in the caste,
Okay.
Subsection in the Dharma.
So, Sumant Raman wanted to make a point after that, Aditya Srivatsa.
Main reason of that.
Sumant Raman.
No, let me speak properly, otherwise if my thoughts...
Yeah, once again, I've got others also on the panel, please. Yeah, Sumant Raman then.
Zaka, it is very clear, Zaka, if the Lingayats want to be accepted as a separate religion, they can no longer be treated as OBC. They will be treated as minorities, and whatever are the quotas which are applicable to minorities will then become applicable to them.
Yes.
Now, they be willing to accept that, because drastically there will be a reduction in the overall quotas which are available, which means that the benefits that
now
they
exactly we are asking the same, sir. We are asking the same.
As part of the Hindu religion will be lost for the Lingayat community. Now, whether they want to do that, that's a different issue. But they can't have their cake and eat it.
No, Aditya Srinivasan, there are hundreds of communities that have been categorized as other backward castes in Karnataka. But to pick just Lingayats and Vokkaligas, two dominant castes, and say that they will have specifically within EWS another 5% and a 4%. What about other castes? I mean, what about the Kurubas, for example? They can turn around and say, why are you not giving us, extending the same benefit to us? Why only two castes?
Yeah, correct. And that's the sort of zero-sum game that is involved in our nation's affirmative action and reservation policies, because politically it's very expedient to try and use reservation as a means as a sort of great solution to a lot of the social ills. I'm not for a moment suggesting that affirmative action and reservation isn't a good thing. I'm just suggesting that perhaps our politics and our political discourse has perhaps overused the utility that is available in reservation, and that ultimately this is going to play out in the form of a zero-sum game. I just want to make two legal clarifications with respect to some of the other comments that were made by the other panelists, if that's all right.
Yeah.
The first thing is, irrespective of how the various communities perceive themselves, I just want to read a very short sentence from the Hindu Marriage Act, just to sort of make a point. It says this act applies to any person who is a Hindu by religion in any of its forms or developments, including Virashaiva, Lingayat, etc., etc. So what that means essentially is that the statute, the legislative framework, thinks of Virashaivas and Lingayats as Hindus. Now, it's a completely different discussion and debate, and one that I don't wish to enter into as to whether or not the communities themselves think of themselves as being a separate religion or not. I just want to state what the legal
I'll give Mohan Vishwa the final word, but I think there is division within the community itself. Some of them see themselves as Hindu. In fact, when you say Veera Shaiva, Shaiva itself is the worship of Shiva. It derives itself from the worship of Shiva. But anyway, Mohan Vishwa, quick closing comment. I need to wrap after that. Yeah.
See, Zaka, this is the problem with the Congress. Last time also they did the same thing. They wanted to divide Lingayat Dharma and did it separately, Lingayat and from, Hindu Dharma. So they had a very big setback. Siddaramaiah also suffered. And if one person who is sitting in the panel, if he says that, Lingayat is a separate religion, it doesn't mean that the entire Lingayat community says that. Okay, last time it has been proven. Ultimately, it's a mandate. Mandate was given against it. So whenever Congress supported it, so we from BJP, we are also very clear. We don't want to divide them. Lingayat caste, it's a part of Hindu religion. And like as you said, Veera Shaiva Shiva is there itself. So they can't make such
kind of I'm very clear as I give Sanket Yanagi the last 30 seconds. I'm very, very clear. If the Lingayats want themselves to be treated as a minority, then yes, and a large number of educational institutions in Karnataka are run by Lingayats, then yes, they will be applicable to get minority quota in those institutions, just like other minorities get. But if they want to be treated as part of the larger Hindu umbrella, then yes, they are eligible for the 15% OBC quota, as also now the government, this contentious move that they've made for the 5% within the EWS. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say that you're a minority for certain reasons and then you avail reservation also in the wider OBC category. But Sanket Yanagi, final word. I got to wrap up after that. Yeah.
This is purely a political gimmick because of the elections. Since the BJP government has underperformed, and this is the risky operation which they want to test on the religious issue.
Okay.
Firstly, they can't give it on the 10% quota because it is a caste-based reservation on EWS, which is not possible. And insofar as the caste-based, class-based and the caste-based is concerned, the caste-based reservation which the Panchamasali and the Vokkaligas are claiming cannot be inserted or derived out of the class-based reservation, which is out of 10%, which is totally impracticable, impossible, constitutionally not possible unless there is a constitutional amendment. And the BJP claims to be in power.
I'll check on this again. From what I remember, when this legislation was passed in the special assembly session in Belgaum in December, I believe that both JDS and Congress also voted in favor, but I'll check on that again. But like I said, I don't see a resolution to this politically or legally before the election. The impact of it, the likely fallout of it, and perhaps even the political damage because of it could be on the Bommai government. But let's shift focus to the other big story, and that is a big twist in the Air India P-Gate scandal. Now, the accused Shankar Mishra has made a rather bizarre allegation in court. He says that the lady, quote-unquote, urinated on herself. He claims that the co-passenger was suffering from a medical condition that most Kathak and Bharatanatyam dancers suffer from. He said that the lady's seat was blocked. It wasn't possible for him to walk from there. CNN News 18 spoke to Shankar Mishra's lawyer. Listen in.
Can you show me the airplane plan and explain it to our viewers as to how is it possible?
See, this is how this is. So here, this woman is standing, sleeping, right? And this is another woman here. This man gets up from this seat, comes here, and according to her, urinates from here, which reaches her here, not impacting this person here. And this, we are not talking about some ordinary water, that water spilled. So the person sitting or the woman sitting in 9C was okay with it, and the one in 9A only complained, right? We're talking about urine. Agar ek drop bhi gira hota, if there would have been any contact, she would have been equally enraged. So this was always what we were saying. We just did not disclose that the woman sitting, why and how did she get wet? that we wanted Shankar Mishra himself to speak out when he speaks out for himself. And again, the trial has not yet started. You know, there are some things which are not meeting the common sense of all of us, one of which is that there is a plane full of people. There is...
देवी और सज्जनों, माननीय केंद्रीय सड़क परिवहन और राजमार्ग मंत्री नितिन गडकरी जी ने देश के कोने कोने को हाईवेज के साथ जोड़ दिया। हमारा ये अनुरोध है और एक निमंत्रण भी कि आप भी 14 जनवरी को हमारे साथ जुड़ें सड़क सुरक्षा अभियान में, क्योंकि उसमें होंगी रोड सेफ्टी की बहुत सारी आवश्यक बातें। क्यों नितिन जी, मैं सही कह रहा हूँ कि नहीं?
बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं, क्योंकि जान है वो जहान है।
सड़क सुरक्षा अभियान, परवाह करेंगे, सुरक्षित रहेंगे। January 14th, 10 a.m. onwards.